very much for your testimony, but more importantly, for your leadership on a day-to-day level on this critical issue. MONUSCO has been reauthorized at 11,000 troops and personnel. And, you know, when I have visited with those troops in the past, especially when, unfortunately, there were from significant allegations being made against them, I got the sense that how often do they leave the barracks to actually try to mitigate the hostilities? And I'm wondering if you know, you have some thoughts on how they could be more effective. Are they effective now? It seems like there's still bloodletting going on in a very, very real way. I remember visiting a Christian health facility in DR Congo, near Goma, where many women who had been horrifically gang raped as a tool of terrorism, broken lives, were actually getting their lives back through faith and a great deal of health care and the like at that facility. And I was just amazed by how they had hope again, because you know, I could see some of the women who were coming in had no hope, but because of the love that was being shown to them. There's a lot of faith-based concern, obviously, for and other concern for those victims, and I'm wondering what we could be doing further to assist them. But in terms of the agreement, and I said it a moment ago, I do hope that there will be, I mean, there needs to be, you could ramp up or just say, look, we're not kidding. I think anybody can question the president's faithfulness on this. He really wants this. You all did unbelievably good hard work in devising all of these interlocking strategies. That's real commitment, and that's real hard work, and you've done it. And you know, when one or both or some of the parties don't respect that, you shouldn't blame the person who convened them and brought everybody into that multiple rooms, multiple times, to try to hatch out a deal. So but I do hope that there will be a real hard hit on those who are fomenting the end of this agreement by allowing M23, for example, to commit the atrocities that they're committed. I'm wondering, too, if I could ask, just jot it down, is the AU playing a robust role in this? You know, they do have great diplomatic capabilities, and again, the UN has its presence there in a number of ways, including with peacekeepers, and I just hope that they're doing their job to protect innocent civilians.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, for those questions. To start with addressing MONUSCO,
Yes.
we do assess that MONUSCO is currently the only force deployed in Eastern DRC that has the capacity to support these agreements that we have signed. So we are looking to MONUSCO to provide logistical support to the ceasefire monitoring mechanism that we are standing up in coordination with the International Conference of the Great Lakes region with their mechanism. So we are discussing how MONUSCO can be more helpful in holding up the accords specifically, and also the Doha Framework Agreement. In the most recent mandate renewal, we were pleased to see language in MONUSCO's mandate that explicitly allows them to support these agreements. And Secretary Rubio did fund MONUSCO in the most recent funding obligation. So the U.S. does remain committed to supporting MONUSCO and to allowing it to play a more effective role in Eastern DRC. With that said, we do see significant obstruction to MONUSCO's capabilities. We see M23 obstructing MONUSCO's movements and capability to protect civilians. So that's something we continue to push on. We, of course, would like to see MONUSCO be more effective, especially in the protection of civilians. So we will continue to discuss the force's role. In terms of implementing the accords, as you mentioned, we fully intend to hold accountable any spoilers to the peace process. We, of course, appreciated President Trump's personal involvement in the December 4th signing of the accords. The president is rightly proud of the progress that we have made under his leadership over the past year in bringing an end to this conflict. And with that recognized, we know that peace is complicated, and Secretary Rubio immediately after the signing said, you know, we have an agreement, and now the agreement has to be lived up to. So really putting the onus on the parties, as you said, to uphold their commitments. And he also said that, like any conflict, there are going to be ups and downs in that implementation, but he made it clear, and I also want to make clear today, that we will stay the course, and the U.S. remains absolutely committed to moving forward under the framework of the Washington Accords as the best way to resolve this conflict. We do intend to keep all options on the table to hold spoilers accountable. I also want to be clear that since December 4th, unfortunately, we have seen violence in eastern DRC intensify. We saw M23 with support from the Rwandan Defense Forces that has been documented and stated by Ambassador Waltz, most recently at USUN. We saw this offensive take the strategically important town of Uvira, and that's extremely concerning to us. And we do consider that even though we have seen a measure of withdrawal from Uvira, I want to be clear that that movement is not enough. We have made it very clear that a more clear withdrawal further north, with Rwandan troops heading back toward Rwanda's borders, with M23 pulling back much farther to at least their previous lines and recommitting to their engagement in the Doha process. We really need to see these steps, and any measures we take to address them will be calibrated to change behavior. So we do have all options on the table, and at the highest level continue to discuss what measures we will implement to change the behavior that we're seeing. Finally, on the African Union's role, we are very appreciative of the AU, especially the AU Commission chairperson and his team. They have been very excellent in supporting both the Doha track and the Washington Accords implementation mechanisms. We do have AU representation in our Joint Oversight Committee and Joint Security Coordination Committee or mechanism meetings. The JOC and JSCM are the main accountability mechanisms through which we oversee the Washington track, and the AU is present there and very active, and we appreciate their input. The president of Togo is also designated as the AU mediator for this conflict. We appreciate the conference that he convened actually last weekend in Togo. The U.S. was able to participate, as were many others, and in that conference, a do-out that we had hoped to see, and which we believe we did see, was the operationalization of the 5 former heads of state that the AU has designated to help with certain tracks of this process. And one of those tracks is civil society engagement. So completely agree with what we're hearing, that civil society engagement is key to a lasting peace, and we're really hoping that the AU can step up and play a leading role in that respect. Thank
Before
you.
yielding to the ranking member, we have an obligation to do things too in the House and the Senate. We thank you for what you are doing. I know it's got to be terribly distressing to see all the hard work being put at risk. I'm thinking, Global Magnitsky Act, guess who pushed it? Me. It came from the original Belarus Democracy Act, which I did in 2004, when all these people said, oh, don't do that, don't sanction Lukashenko. Well, we did. That law was signed by George W. Bush in 2004, and we got a lot of prisoners out, and we said, we're not kidding. You're not going to be able to do business here. And that's the underpinning of the entire Global Magnitsky Act. It came from the Belarus Democracy Act. And I will look to do specific, country-specific legislation to help the president get adherence to, and these countries, because he's already doing it, to what they've agreed to. And again, I can't say it enough. When you sign something, you put your honor on the line, and then you do nothing, or you wink and nod and you allow certain things to happen. I'm talking about individual players in the 2 countries, particularly M23. We have to get more involved too as a Congress, and I plan to lead it. Thank you. I yield.